Welcome to the Freelancers Tea Break, the bite-sized podcast all about freelancing and working from home to enjoy during your tea break. Brought to you by Emma Cossey from freelancelifestyle.co.uk. And now, your host, Emma Cossey.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Freelancers Lifestyle podcast, or the Freelancers Tea Break podcast, rather. That's the right name. So this week we're going to do something a little bit different. And my lovely friend Anna Jones is going to be joining us, and we're going to talk about kind of body image and just trying to think of the right term with it, really, but how we feel being visible as entrepreneurs and freelancers and self-employed women. So that's really something we want to talk about a little bit more. So Anna, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you?
Hey Emma, and firstly, thank you so much for inviting me. I felt really chuffed to be asked. So what I do is, or what I try to do is help long-term serial dieters, so women who have been focused on for years and years and years and who have felt really bad about the size of their bodies for a period of time, to finally learn to accept those wonderful bodies of theirs, or even like them, but I think the first step is just to accept them as they are. And whilst I'm helping them to do that, I'm also attempting to try and help them to wriggle free from diet culture, because it hasn't worked for them.
Brilliant. And I think you kind of had a bit of an epiphany moment in the last sort of year or so. Is that right?
Yeah. It was a gradual epiphany, because when I first left Weight Watchers, I'd worked for Weight Watchers for 13 years. When I first left them and became a life coach, I kind of got sucked back into selling weight loss, because what I was known for, and it was what I was used to, actually, so I felt comfortable with it. And also I kind of believed that I would be able to do what others couldn't, and really help to focus and motivate and inspire people to take the relevant action day in, day out that would lead to successful weight loss. But what happened in that process was that I did a lot of research around the subject, and also working with my clients, I came to the gradual epiphany that, and I'm sort of loath to say it, because I know that whilst I'm saying it, that I might be crushing lots of people's weight loss dreams, but that actually, for the vast majority of people who have had a weight issue for a period of years, it's pretty much impossible to maintain any weight loss that you. So the stats are that 95% of people who lose weight put that weight back on within 3 and 5 years, and some of those, in fact I think it's 2/3 of those, end up heavier than they did before they started dieting. So I nonetheless persevered with the approach that, if you learn to like and accept your body, that you're going to treat it better, and therefore you might shed weight naturally. But even that felt uncomfortable. So just before Christmas, I decided to stop selling weight loss completely and focus on helping women just feel comfortable in their own skins as they are now. And that doesn't mean that they can't try and implement healthier behaviours in their life. That doesn't mean that I'm discouraging them from exercising, or a balanced diet, or drinking less wine, or whatever it is. It just means that integrity with myself, it felt like the right thing to do, to not sell weight loss anymore, not sell that dream, because I felt that it was selling a lie.
Yeah, and
so, yeah, it's a massive epiphany.
I'm a typical yo-yo dancer, dieter myself. I've been everything from a size 10 to a size 18, which is what I am now.
Mm-hmm.
I've done Weight Watchers and Slimming World and all sorts of things. And yeah, I think sometimes the focus is only on, you'll only feel happy and successful once you reach your dream weight. And
yeah,
that, I think that can be quite a a damaging mindset, because then you'll never feel complete until you hit that weight loss. And then have you found that people, if they have reached their goal, do they suddenly feel like that's it, they're done, or they're successful?
Yes, and I experienced that myself, and it's taken me really, I mean, I've been dieting properly, I say properly, since I was 15, and it's taken me this long to realise that actually where I'm at now is pretty much where I was 20 years ago. And I've also now had the realisation that perhaps if I hadn't gone down that route, it wouldn't have impacted my metabolism. I might have been smaller than I am now, but, almost the damage is done. But, my experience in Weight Watchers, and one of the reasons that in the end I felt disillusioned and left, was that what I experienced myself was that, I had an incredible weight loss, and we can't deny it. It feels great because you are fitting in with society's expectations of you. You suddenly feel normal, in inverted commas. So it did feel great, but my experience was that gradually over time it just crept on, even though I was constantly, keeping food diaries, doing everything that I was supposed to do. Gradually crept on over a period of years, and I was observing exactly the same in the members, that people were successful, because every diet does produce weight loss if you can stick to it, but the point is that they are unsustainable in the long term. Otherwise we'd all be skinny, wouldn't we? If the diet worked and it worked once, we'd all be fixed, wouldn't we? And we could live a happily ever after and match up to society's current beauty ideals. But what I was seeing was that people, and the majority of people weren't getting there. Let's not mince our words here. The majority of people struggled anyway, but usually the first or the second time people tried, they were successful, then struggled to maintain, then started beating themselves up, and were just on this perpetual wheel of continually making fresh starts. And it was painful to go through it myself, and it was painful as well to observe it in others. So
it's horrible, isn't it, the way we kind of beat ourselves up, really, and so much negative talk. And you're not saying don't make healthy choices, don't try and like you were saying about exercise earlier and making those healthier choices, but do it from a place of love for your body, not beating yourself up all the time because you're not your ideal weight.
And I think, and also research has shown that if you focus on health as your goal, you're much more likely to be persistent and consistent with those changes that you make. Whereas if you make weight loss your goal, all sorts of stuff starts happening in your head that means that as soon as you've eaten a Rolo or something that plan, that you feel like a failure, and so all of those healthy habits just go out of the window, and you just end up on that on it off it cycle, which is mentally damaging as well as physically damaging.
And I think so kind of the reason we were chatting about doing this podcast episode is a conversation we had about how I have hang-ups about being more visible because of my weight, and because I don't feel like I fit into the kind of the ideal look for how somebody online who sort of leads an online community like I do, and I do coaching and things like that. I didn't feel like I fitted the mold. And I think one of the things that really blew my mind about that you said to me was that basically I had a responsibility to be visible, so that I show that there's more diversity out there. There's not just the slim, polished, perfect people with their Instagram homes who are absolutely polished. There's a real diversity of people out there who are running their own businesses.
Absolutely. And I think we are bombarded every day by images of super slender women, on media, but also, you know, on social media, but also just on the television, in adverts, in magazines, in newspapers, wherever you look. And I think in a way that's kind of brainwashed us into all believing that that is the norm, that that is how we should, again, inverted commas, how we should look. Reality is that in the UK, I don't know whether you have, I don't know the stats for other countries, but in the UK, 50+% of women are a size 16 plus. So the reality is, I don't know what size those super slender girls are that have actually probably been photoshopped anyway and had their necks and legs and arms and all sorts elongated and their bottoms enlarged and boobs enlarged. I don't know what size they are, but they could be 6 or an 8 or a 10, probably not even a 12 or a 14. So we are kind of brainwashed into thinking that that's normal, and the reality is that isn't normal. So I think the thing that I was trying to say to you was, like, if we show up in our size, whatever size we are, that's over a size 10, then we are helping to recreate that perception of normality.
Yeah. And I think also it then will hopefully help other people who feel like they're waiting. Like, I don't know if you feel like this, but I know a lot of people who are over a size 16 or whatever weight really are almost waiting to live their life until they've hit their target weight, or they've lost weight. And I just think that's such a dangerous waste of time to wait to live your life for that. And hopefully, if we're being visible, that will encourage it. I mean, one of my big passions with freelancing and the freelance lifestyle is to make it much more accessible and give a lot more people the option of freelancing. And I think a part of that is being more visible and showing that it's not a particular kind of person. And we're not knocking slim people. It's just showing that they're not the only people.
Balancing what we see out there in the world.
And I think that goes for all kind of minorities as well. I think we still need to see more people of colour in
absolutely
who are visible in the kind of area, and all sorts of things like that.
Absolutely, that's so true. Yeah,
and I think it's just a really interesting topic, because I think there are a lot of people behind the scenes who are hiding because they don't feel comfortable being out there because of their size. And it's a real shame, because they're doing amazing things, but you don't necessarily see it.
I know. And the thing that I've just remembered from our conversation in that group was that you said something along the lines of that you were reluctant to be visible because of your size in your group. I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but because you felt kind of isolated, like you were the only larger woman in your group. Having given you the stats that I've just given you, I'm almost certain that cannot be true.
And it was I don't know, it's crazy. I think it was a bit of imposter syndrome as well. I think I almost thought, oh, what if they think I'm like a size 12 and then I come on and they're like disappointed? I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? To think someone will be disappointed, like they're happy with how the group is, they're enjoying the group, and then for me to show up and then go, oh, but she's a size 18, so I'm going to leave. That's not going to happen. That's mad. But that's what I almost convinced myself was going to happen.
Yeah, because it's that fear, isn't it, of what are they going to think? What's their judgment going to be?
Yeah.
And the reality is that whatever your size, I'm sure people do. I'm sure lots of the ladies that follow you will have reservations about being visible for all sorts of reasons, and mainly it's based on fear of what people are going to think of them. So, they might not show up because they've got a big zit on their chin that day, or because they're having a bad hair day, or I don't know, whatever's going on for them. For me, for a long time, it was my voice. The first time, and this is years ago, the first time I heard my voice on record, I thought, oh my God, is that what I sound like? So there are all sorts of fears of judgment, aren't there? And that's I think a biggie that stops lots of us from being visible as like to. But what I'd say about that is, you know what, people judge. That's just what we do. And as much as people judge us, we judge them. People judge you on everything. They judge you on your eyebrows, they judge you on whatever, and you just can't let that stop you
No, and actually, I think the funny thing is with things like Facebook Lives, I don't know about you, but when I watch Facebook Lives, I'm quite often, I've got it on and I'm listening to it, but I might be doing something else. So it's not even like I'm staring at that person the whole time they're on the live.
No,
I'm
that's
literally
true.
listening more than I'm looking. So I don't think people really do, like, they're not going to sit there and go, oh, she's got hair out of place. Who
No.
cares if they do?
And that's a really good point. And, you know, I think something really relevant for your listeners to take on board. I hadn't thought of that. But yeah, a lot of the time we're not even looking, are we?
No.
I think the people that might look most closely are ourselves. If we watch the replay, it's like we're looking for everything, every nuance, aren't we? But,
yeah, and the Facebook Live, when they choose a thumbnail and you're like, oh no, that's horrific. But, or Instagram, if you reply to people on Instagram as well, and sometimes you see the thumbnail back and go, oh really? But it's a moment. It's only a moment.
Exactly. Exactly. And even if it is how you looked in that moment, so what? You know, so what, really?
So do you have any tips for kind of overcoming the visibility, I guess, around that?
I've got lots of tips. I mean, overcoming the visibility fears. I think, first of all, as you've already mentioned, I think just remind yourself that actually it's essential that you are visible, because if you don't market your business, then you haven't got a business at the end of the day. So it's something that you're just going to have to, you know, grab by the lapels and get on with. I think the other thing to remember that's really important is that it's, again, we've touched on it, so not important what we look like. The important thing is how we serve our customers. And I don't know about you, but we were talking a little bit before you started recording about Marie Forleo and how, yeah, she's got this amazing polished look, professional perhaps, but actually her look just does not resonate with me. I just find her too polished. I don't even want to be that polished. I feel like she's in a different kind of world to me, so it's very unlikely that I would ever want to work with her. And each of us is unique and individual and resonates with different people in different ways. So I think, you know, the message, if you can make the message the most important thing, then that kind of takes you a long way. And I think for me, that's the biggest game changer, is to focus on the message. And, you know, for me, it's so important to share that message that, you know what, life's too short. You need to really learn to accept yourself as you are now, even if you can't get to the liking or loving stage. You know, it's not even essential that you love your body. You know, maybe just be grateful for it and accept it, so that women don't end up at, I'm quite a late learner, Emma. You're all learning much younger than me. I wish I'd learned in my 30s what I know now. I wasted 50 plus years of my life feeling down on myself and having very low self-esteem as a result of it. So I think, you know, getting to a point where you just know that what you do has its place in the world, important to you. I mean, you stated your mission earlier. It's about really making sure that women do come out of their comfort zones and set up a freelance lifestyle, you know, and if you focus on that rather than what you look like, then the passion comes out, you know, you become more animated about it, and you can forget about all of that sort of well, really, it's superficial nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, and if people love what you're doing in text form, I know that sounds really clumsy, but if they love your emails, or if they love what you're posting on Facebook, or if they love what you're posting on Instagram, then they'll love what you're saying visually in video form or face to face.
And they might not resonate with you or I. There might be someone else that they resonate with more, but they need to know that, don't they? And so that's why we need to be visible and share ourselves with the world. I can't remember what the original question was.
It was top tips. I don't know if you had any top tips about accepting yourself as well.
I think I think one thing that really helps me, and I think that self-acceptance and that kind of nervousness about how you look kind of happens, yes, online, but also in live networking. And I don't know how many of your listeners this will resonate with, but I've kind of stopped live networking about 18 months ago because of that concern about what people would think of me, especially when I was selling weight loss and I was larger of size. So that was really off-putting. But I think it's just, remembering that in a kind of humorous way, that everybody cares much more about what they look like than what you look like.
So true. It's so true.
And we kind of do that as well, don't we? So we know it's true from our own experience. I think the other thing that I would say is just keep making yourself do it, whatever it is. Make an appointment with yourself to go to the network meeting, make an appointment with yourself to do your Facebook lives, to show up live, because the more you do it, the more you'll get used to it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
The more normal it will seem. And also do watch replays. I know a lot of people don't watch replays because they don't like looking at themselves, but I would recommend that you do actually watch replays, because the more you watch them, the more you get used to yourself and how you look and how you talk and how you come across.
I love that tip. I think we're both in Ruby Maguire's group, Rock Your Visibility. Yeah. So I think one of the nice things that Ruby's done in her group is every Friday we have to do a live, and it's only 2 minutes long. But I think for a lot of us that's really helped as well. So even if it's just a mini challenge, or even using Instagram stories to, like I'm running Story Vader at the moment, # Story Vader, and having that daily prompt to show up is just helping break down a little bit some of those misconceptions that I had about it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the other tip that I would say about showing up live is do something that's going to make you feel confident about yourself. So before we did this, before we started talking to each other this morning, I did a little bit of EFT, emotional freedom technique. I also am a EFT practitioner. Might not be for everybody, but for some people, if you've not heard of it, a good starting point is to Google Brad Yates and to Google Brad Yates confidence or body confidence, and he's pretty much done a tapping sequence for almost everything you can think of. So that could be
hundreds of videos.
He's got hundreds and hundreds. I've not Googled anything yet that he's not done some kind of tapping sequence for. Lippy, if that's your thing, make sure that you've washed your hair if that's the sort of thing that will make you feel more confident. I would say my best tip for body acceptance, whatever stage you're at, and irrespective of whether you're in business or not, is don't wear anything that's too tight, because that always makes you feel really rubbish about yourself. So if I was sitting here in like rigid trousers that felt really uncomfortable, then I would be conscious of my body. And I think, we don't want to be self-conscious in that way. Say affirmations if that's what works for you. I know that you talk a lot about negative self-talk, challenge that self-talk, turn it around. And my very favourite tip, and I did do this, and that's why I was slightly late, was to listen to, I don't know whether you've seen The Greatest Showman.
Oh, yes, This Is Me. You talk about that song?
I love that.
It's amazing.
I heard it, I cried in the cinema, and I've made it my anthem. And I just think, put it on full blast, listen to the words, and it's just so empowering, and it kind of delivers the message that I want to deliver as well.
It's your theme tune.
It's my theme tune now. And I love the bearded lady. I just love her.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm desperate to.
Have you not?
I have listened to the soundtrack and I love that song. So.
Oh, but because she is as she is in the movie, it just made me cry and made me think, I love you, bearded lady. So you must watch it.
So last question. Where can we find you online?
Okay, you can find me. My website is www.timetosortit.com. I'm probably most active on my Facebook page, which is Anna Jones Time to Sort It. And I do force myself to do lives on there at least once a week. So to see anyone there. And I also have recently opened up a closed group, Time to Heart Your Body and Live Your Life, which is dormant at the moment, but I'm going to revive it very soon with a couple of challenges, free challenges. So yes, any of those places. And if you are someone who suffers with low body confidence, then I've got a couple of freebies on the website. There's a short video series, but I think the one that is probably the most impactful is there's a half-hour masterclass on there called 5 Steps from Body Load to Body Love. So yes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining me. And I think we just kind of want to get the point across that if you feel as a listener that you are putting things off until you're a certain weight or something like that, don't. Just jump in now and love who you are now.
Absolutely.
Start with accept and work up to love. Because you don't want to waste your life wishing that you done things sooner, basically. That's
absolutely.
a terrible summary, but kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. You won't lay on your deathbed when you're 80 years old, or hopefully older. I'm aiming for 100, and look back and think, A, I wish I'd dieted more, and B, I'm so glad I spent most of my life feeling rubbish about myself because of the state of my body. You just won't think that.
No, it's wasted energy.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. And to all of our listeners, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And we'll be back next week.
Thanks, Emma.